already here. In fact, I'm surprised to hear it was 1968 that he came. I was convinced that it was after serving with Canadian forces at the Second Battle of Ypres. All those books, George, those aren't memoirs? Kidding aside, George has been at Eastern long enough to become, to use a Latin phrase, the genius loci, the genius of the place. By that, the Romans meant a kind of tutelary spirit or presence, in this case in the Department of History and Philosophy. It's difficult to imagine the 7th floor of Pray Herald without him hard at work in his office. I gather you'll still be hard at work in the immediate future. But George is a genius in another sense. The man has written, as you've heard, 14 books, including co-authoring multiple editions of 2 textbooks, which I had the privilege of working with him on Western and world civilization over nearly 3 decades. I think those 2 books went through 7 editions. His many learned and meticulously researched monographs include, and I'm going to read you a list here, forgive me, but I'm trying to give you a sense of his scholarly output and erudition. His first book was published in 1971. The title is The French and the Dardanelles, A Study of Failure in the Conduct of War. That was followed by Kitchener, Architect of Victory, published in 1977. The Tragedy of Sir John French, published in 1985. Beyond Courage, The Canadians at the Second Battle of Ypres, published in 1985. That's 2 books in 1 year. Asquith as War Leader, published 1994. The Forgotten Front, The British Campaign in Italy, 1917-1918, published 1998. Kitchener's War, British Strategy from 1914 to 1916, published 2004. Lloyd George at War, 1916 to 1918, published 2009. Hell in Flanders Fields, I love that title. Canadians at the Second Battle of Ypres, published 2010. Trial by Gas, The British Army at the Second Battle of Ypres, published 2014. Kitchener as Proconsul of Egypt, 1911 to 1914, published 2016. And his most recent book, which will appear in June 2019, is entitled Reluctant Partner, The Complete Story of the French Participation in the Dardanelles Expedition of 1915. Now, in case you thought he was slowing down, I hope you noticed that since 2004, 6, count them, 6 books since 2004. He's just getting up to speed. George, you're amazing. All this while, serving on university committees, college committees, department committees, carrying a normal EMU teaching load is not the 2 courses taught by our counterparts at U of M. All of us here this evening, students, faculty, administrators, we know how difficult the writing process, done well, is. We've all stared at that blank piece of paper or computer screen. George himself once said to me that he loves to write, but that it's the hardest thing he does. I'm sure we would all say amen to that. How does he do it? As near as I can figure out, he is simply the most dedicated scholar and researcher I have ever known. My metaphorical mental image is of George coming in for an 8-hour workday, wearing a hard hat and carrying one of those metal lunchboxes. English professor turned detective fiction writer Robert Parker, a fan of his, was once asked how he kept up his prolific output. He said, you know, I get up every morning and I've got 2 objectives. One is to write 500 words. The other is to pump some iron. I understand from George you don't pump iron, but I'll bet you write the 500 words every day. When I heard that, when Parker said that, I thought of you immediately. There's a guy who produces his 500 words. George's in short, his work ethic has been for all of us an inspiration over these many years. If you know George personally, you will be aware that he is a man of how will I put this, firmly held political views. To give you a sense of what I mean, he occasionally says to me, Jim, I love you like a brother, even though you're a goddamn Democrat. George, my friend, in sincere gratitude for the great distinction you have brought not only to yourself, but also to your department colleagues and to the university you have served so long and so well. Let me assure you that all of us gathered here this evening, including the goddamn Democrats, love you like a brother. And now I ask you all to join me in three rousing cheers for George Cassar.
Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!